everybody. Happy Wednesday. You made it over the hump. And now it's Wednesday night and it's almost time for bed. And then you only have 2 more days of work. So today I'm going to be talking about my blog post that just went live this week. And it is a little different because this one is all about math, which if you follow me, you know that math is my favorite thing about being a teacher. I love teaching math. Which it's funny because I never really considered myself a math person when I was growing up, or even as an adult. I always thought that I was more of an ELA person because I love reading, I love writing. I would have never taught math, except that was the job that was available whenever I was trying to get a job. And then I just found out that I loved it so much, but I still was trying so hard to switch over and get an ELA teaching job. And then so finally I got that ELA teaching job, and I realized that while I may be an ELA person, I'm definitely a math teacher, and I really love teaching math. And so yeah, math has changed a lot since I was a kid, and the way that I learned it versus the way that I first taught it whenever my teaching career began. And then several years ago, when the TEKS changed and the standards changed and Common Core came around, and we started really focusing on the more conceptual understanding of math, kind of everything changed. And now it seems like there's a lot of new and different ways of teaching. And one area of math that this is really evident in is the division and also the multiplication. But today I'm really going to focus on division and some different strategies that you can teach your students to help them be really successful at division. And so I'm actually going to do some math today. So I'm going to switch this over so that you can see my presentation. So yeah, there are 4 major different strategies for solving long division problems. And those are, let's see, hold on just a second. Okay, sorry. Long division is the one that everybody knows, probably the one that you learned when you were in school and did most of your education. And then we're also going to learn partial products, the area model method, and then my all-time favorite, short division. So don't go away until I get to the short division part. You're not going to want to miss that. So the first slide that you see here is about long division, and I'm going to talk about each of these, show you how to do them, and then talk about which students would benefit from the different strategies. So the long division strategy is great for students that are good at following a set of directions and like to have really like parameters that they want to work through. So it's really great for them. It's also really good for those students that have parents that are always wanting to help them with their homework, because I have noticed that when parents get frustrated, it's because they look at a math and it doesn't make sense to them, and it seems like it would take a lot longer than they're used to. And so if you have a parent that's really into helping their kid, this strategy is a great one for them to use because their parents can help them and everybody's comfortable and good to go. Also, this strategy is really good for students that have neat handwriting or that will try to keep things organized on their paper, because the kids that are sloppy and messy, they can get all messed up because it does require neatness and organization. So on my blog, there is a long division checklist that you can get for free and print. These are little bookmarks. You can give them to the students so that they can go through the steps. So I'm not going to go over this strategy because I think everybody already knows it. But I'm going to move on, and as I go through the different strategies, I'm going to first start with the one that is the most concrete, and then I'm going to go to more abstract or more do the work in your mind instead of on paper. So the long division strategy, everything that you do is right on the paper, and so the kids can see all of their work as they go through. So the next strategy that I'm going to talk about is the partial quotients strategy. So a kid might benefit from this strategy if they aren't necessarily step followers. They don't want to have like these boundaries that they have to stay within. If they want to think a little bit more creatively in their math work, or like the students when you're doing your number talks, they're the ones that have the creative ideas. So basically, this is a little a little less concrete than the long division, but still it allows the students to show their work and stuff. So basically the partial quotient, instead of having a whole series of steps that you go and repeat, what you really want to do is have the students understand the main concept of partial quotients, and that is to take your complete dividend and subtract off chunks of it all the way down. So this strategy really makes sense whenever you think about that division is actually just repeated subtraction. So when they're in third grade or even younger, they learn that multiplication is repeated addition and division is just repeated subtraction. So we can take let's take a big dividend. We'll do 6,953 divided by 4. Okay, so that is going to be our problem. So if we were going to do straight up repeated subtraction, we could just subtract 4 and then subtract 4 again and then subtract 4 again. And basically we would write a 1 here because we are taking 1 4 and we're going to subtract it. However, that would take forever. So what we do instead is do that a lot of times. Instead of subtracting 1 4 at a time, we can subtract 1,000 4s at a time. So if you have 1,000 4s, that's really 4,000, and we can take that right off of the dividend. So I'm left with 2,953. So my dividend has gotten a lot smaller, and I have a partial quotient. I have part of an answer. Oh, there. I thought I turned my ringer off, but I didn't. Okay, so now I just want to keep going. So now what can I multiply 4 by? How many 4s do I want to subtract off at this time? So maybe I will do 700. So if I took off 700 4s at a time, I would be taking off 2,800. My biggest fear is I'm going to do the math wrong and be embarrassed. So hopefully I'm not going to do the math wrong. Okay, so we're left with 153 of our original dividend. So we still need to take off some. And what's cool about this strategy is you don't have to take off any certain amount at any given time. I could have taken off 4,000 and then I just could have taken off 400 here. The bigger the chunk you take off, the kids like it because the less steps there are. But it doesn't matter how many steps. If you just keep doing 400 minus 400 minus 400, you'll still get to the right answer. So I think if I do 4 times 3, so if I take off 300, whoops, I'm going to run out of space here. So if I take off 300 4s, not 300, 30. See, now I'm embarrassed because I made a mistake. Okay, so if I take off 30, then I've taken off 120 and I'm still left with 33. And then it just keeps going like this until the students are done subtracting off all of their quotients. So they've taken parts and parts and parts off till there's nothing left. And doing so, they've developed these partial quotients up here. I think I said quotients a minute ago when I meant dividends, but these are your quotients up here, your answers. And so once you have all of the partial quotients, you just add them up to find the real one. So this is a great strategy for students who maybe are a little messy and they're having a hard time bringing down, or maybe who just have a better understanding of math and they're able to do some of it in their head and divide off big chunks. So partial quotients is one of the popular strategies for teaching long division. And then the next one we're going to look at is the area model. So the area model is basically partial quotients, except for, again, we're taking some of the paperwork out and the students are doing more of it in their head. They're thinking mathematically a little bit more, but still they're going to take their dividend apart into partial dividends and then do smaller division problems to find smaller answers, which become the whole answer. So let's do 5,620 divided by 5. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to be taking off parts, but we're not really going to subtract them. All we're going to do is decompose our dividend, 5,620. And we're going to decompose them into compatible numbers so that they can be divided easily. So I think the first thing I can take out is 5,000. And then I see that I still have 620. So another compatible number that's easy is 500. So now I'm up to 5,500, but I still have 120 left. So now I can take out, let's take out another 100, and now I have 20 left. So now I'll just put that 20 there. I've decomposed this number into 4 partial dividends. And now the area model just breaks these parts into pieces, and then divides each piece by the divisor. So how many times will 5 go into 5,000? This is 100, and this is 20, and this is 4. So once you have your partial quotients, then you just add them up again to find the answer. So a lot of students love this because it takes, it's a little bit more efficient, takes less time, it takes up less space on the paper, but they have to be able to take this this dividend and break it into compatible numbers like this. And that can be really challenging for students. So students that are going to be good at this are students that are going to have strong mathematical understanding. They can see how numbers can be decomposed and composed back together. So this would be a good strategy, but not for all of your students, but it would be a good strategy for some of them. Okay, so I've kind of went through all of the first ones, and now I've finally gotten to my favorite one, which is the short division strategy. So short division is basically where you do almost all of the math in your head. So it's really quick. But I tell my students, when we're doing math, the number one thing that we need to think about is not how fast, but if it's right. So we go for accuracy first. It has to be right. And then efficiency is second. So it doesn't matter how fast they are if they're going to get the wrong answer. So they need to think about which strategy is going to give them the right answer the majority of the time. So let's do another one. Let's do 8,234 divided by 3. Okay, so this is how the short division works. 3 goes into 8 2 times, and then in your head, you think about the remainder, which is 2. So I'm going to put the remainder there. And now our next number is going to be 22 divided by 3, which is 7. Remainder 1. Now we have 3 into 13, which is 4. Remainder 1. And 3 into 14, which is 4. Remainder 2. So that was a very quick way of coming about the answer. And whenever I found this a couple of years ago, I cannot believe that no one had ever taught me this or showed me this strategy before, and I had never thought of it. But doing this strategy is awesome because if you can learn how to do this on paper, then you can start doing it in your head, and you can begin dividing big numbers in your head using this same strategy. So this one is super awesome for kids. Number one priority is that they know their facts like down pat. They have to know their division facts and be able to quickly find the remainder in their head in order to use the strategy. So on my blog, you can download this sheet right here. And basically, it's just a little test that you can give them, a quick little screener that they can take. And it's just basic division problems that also have remainders. And so if the students are able to do a reasonable amount of these in a certain time, then they may be ready for short division. But I would not just take short division and teach it to your class, because if you do that, they're not going to have the conceptual understanding of dividing big numbers. They're not going to realize that you can take a big number and break it into littler numbers and divide littler numbers and still find the answer. And that is really important for kids to understand. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you when I actually do teach short division, it is after they've already learned the other strategies. They've already built an understanding using hands-on and manipulatives and just practice problems, so that when we get to short division, this isn't they can literally see that all it is a shortcut. So I'm going to show you kind of what I would do. So what I would start with is just doing a regular old long division problem on the board. And let's do Jax. Okay, so I'm just going to do regular old long division. 7, 21, 9, 3. Okay, so I had 873. And now over here, I'm going to do the same problem, but I'm going to use short division. So 3 goes into 26, 8 times, remainder 2. 3 goes into 21, 7 times, remainder 0. 3 goes into 9, 3 times, remainder 0. Okay, so I got the same answer. And then what I would do after I showed the students that, I would go back and just really focus on when we're doing short division, we're actually are doing long division. It's just we're doing some of the steps in our head. So we start here, 26 divided by 3 is 8. We did the same thing here, 26 divided by 3 is 8. But on the long division, we have to multiply and subtract just to find the remainder. On the short division, we did the remainder in our head. We figured that out without writing down any steps to figure it out. So we cut out some of the steps just by doing the work in our head. And then we bring down, and I bring down this 21. And so we have 21. And we see over here, when we write our remainder in front of the next number, it's the same thing as bringing down the number. So both ways we have 21 here. And then I just show them again. Let's do the next one. 7 times 3 is 21. Over here, we did 3 times 7 is 21. And then we found our remainder by multiplying and subtracting. Here we just found we knew there was no remainder. We did that in our head. And so as you're allowing students to take these shortcuts and to learn these things, there are a couple things that you need to kind of consider. And that is the first thing you have to consider is that the students need to be ready for the less concrete way of doing math. They need to be ready to take the shortcuts like short division or even the area model method. If they don't understand division and they don't understand the principles of division, that you can take the dividend and break it into smaller chunks to find your answers, then they're going to be having this huge gap in math understanding. And so you want to be really careful. There are so many tricks. If you just go to YouTube and you Google in like multiplication tricks or division tricks, you'll see these really cool tricks. But when you're just using a trick, the kids don't develop any kind of math understanding. And that is not where you want to be. So it's probably just about time for you to teach long division. And you probably have all of these different strategies in your textbook and in your curriculum. And you do want to show these, but don't feel like you have to really hammer in all of them. You show it, you let the kids experience each one of them, you help them to figure out which strategy would be best with them, you guide them to students, do you like having a set of steps to work through? Do you have a good math sense? Those kind of things can help you pick the strategy that they can use. And then once they've picked a strategy, just let them do that strategy. Don't make them take a test on all the different strategies and things, because the point of offering students different strategies is that giving them what they need as an individual. And so there's no point in confusing somebody and making them learn all these things. Just let them figure out which strategy they can be first accurate with and then second efficient with. And then that's all you really have to do. So on my blog this week, let's see, you can look at, let's see. Let me go here. Sorry. Okay. So there is a free download you can use, and it is an interactive notebook page for each of the methods that I just showed you, and some other little things that you can use in your class to help as well. And so that you can show these one day, teach all the different strategies, and then let kids figure it out. So that is what I got for you this week. And I'd love to hear what strategies you have, if you have any special way of teaching the students. Let's see, where's my mouse? It's not going. Ooh. I don't know. I was going to make my picture bigger, but like Okay, there's my mouse. But then when I go down, it ain't there. I don't know. Anyways, I guess I'm going to stay small in the corner while I say goodbye because it won't let me work my mouse. Technology. Anyways, I would love to hear what you do and what your favorite strategy is, what strategies your kids love. Maybe your partial product strategy looks different than mine. But I hope that if you are a new teacher or new to fourth grade math and you're looking at all these long division problems and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, just know that you don't have to do it all. You can start with what feels comfortable with you. Maybe next year you can add in another one. But the point is the main takeaway is to let kids experience this, let them see what works for them, and then be okay if different kids want to use different strategies to solve their problems. So anyway, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you back here next week where I'm going to be sharing something really cool. It is I listened to a podcast recently, and it was about a lady doing some research on helping to motivate kids. And so my blog is kind of based on her research and some things that you can do for kids that need motivation or need a little bit extra encouragement. Maybe they're kids that aren't meeting their potential and you're not quite sure what to do, but you know they have the room for growth. So come back next week and I'll talk about that and have some free downloads for you to get started with the new strategy in your class. But until then, have a great week and weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye.